Why are libraries spending hundreds of thousands of dollars defending the rights of perverts to view porn in your libraries? Well, Dan Kleinman of Safe Libraries is on the case, and he's been fighting for years to keep kids safe in libraries. And he joins us here today. Dan, welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us. Some of these stories, I am all pro First Amendment, Dan. Let's just get that out of the way. There's not much I don't think people have a right to, except using my taxpayer dollars to that in a library. That's gross. I don't want to know that, and I don't want to take the chance that my first grader who's there to check out a library book is going to walk past one of these pervs in the library that I'm paying for. I have a problem with that.
Well, then you have the Supreme Court of the United States to support you, because the Supreme Court says that even though porn is legal in a public library, since it's a limited public forum, you can block it out. It doesn't violate your First Amendment rights.
I guess, one of the things that I think people are not paying as much, and with all due respect, because I know this is your passion cause, people are not paying as much attention to libraries these days because they say, well, libraries, they're kind of a relic. We have the internet now, so there probably aren't that many children in the libraries anyway. When I posted your articles, that's one of the comments I get consistently. I wanted to give you a chance to respond to that.
Well, public libraries are actually very popular, and they should be, and they're very important to communities. The problem is when organizations like the American Library Association mislead libraries about the law. As a result, they allow porn in there, and a lot of children and even librarians and other people are being harmed by that porn, let alone the people who are being filmed in the porn, and this feeds into the industry.
Right, and right there in a library, by the way, where you have someone going in for the specific purpose of not being trackable to their home, right? So they're probably up to mischief in the first place, unless it is a child trying to look something up. And then you have all these little sitting duck children. I know for one, I don't let my children go to libraries anymore because of this. I mean, I'm just speaking as a mom who's very engaged in her children's education. I don't want my children in a library where perverts are allowed to sit there and look at child porn and then turn around and see my child innocently reading a book in an aisle that is somewhat protected from view.
That's right. We have cases where perpetrators have gone into libraries and they've stated to the police that the reason why they went into the library was because it had a weak filtering system. So the bad guys are targeting these systems because they know they're weak, and they go in there. Oh, and guess what? Some of the regulations that the American Library Association tells libraries is that they need to delete their data so that when police need to do investigations of these kind of criminals, the data simply isn't there.
Wow. And people think this doesn't impact them personally. Oh, how much of our tax dollars go to libraries anyway? And probably more of the money that I'm giving in my tax dollars is going to good things than bad things. But you talk about libraries raising taxes just to cover their legal bills to fight to be able to put these perverts on the internet in our libraries. Tell us about that, Dan.
Yes, in Orland Park Public Library in Orland Park, Illinois, the library has spent almost $100,000 defending child pornography in that library for approximately 8 or 9 months now. They've had that problem for years. The library was just talking just the other day that they need to raise taxes in order to recoup some of the money that they're going to be needing due to their large legal bills to make this stuff happen.
And so what is it that makes you so impassioned about this issue? What keeps you going day after day? It can't be easy doing what you're doing. Something really, really just hit a nerve with you that you've spent really your life pursuit on this topic. Tell us about that.
Well, I think there's a fundamental injustice that there's some big organization that is misleading communities into doing the wrong thing. If people only knew the truth and were told that they have the right to keep porn out of the library, and then they made up their own minds based on an informed consent, that would be one thing. But if a big organization is just lying to people and it's harming people nationwide, that's a serious problem. Very few people do anything about it. And I've decided that I don't want my kid to be a victim of this, and you just can't. And then anyway, that's how I got started on this.
Mm-hmm. How many stories and reports of this sort do you get in a given week, Dan? Because I know it's way more than people understand, and certainly one of the most underreported things in our media today.
I get a number of reports on a regular basis. Uh, Many times people come to me after they've been frustrated in their libraries because the libraries say we can't do anything. There's a First Amendment right to porn, which is false. One woman came to me, for example, in Los Angeles, where she says there are people being, forgive me, but masturbating like about 30 times a week. And the librarians are afraid to do anything, and the police won't do anything because the police already know that the library does not, get involved in trying to disclose this and deletes the records that they need to prove this. So this happens quite a lot. I get a lot of reports of this stuff, and it's very hard to get my message out there. And the library media never says anything about this. They keep it quiet.
You brought up that most people think that the First Amendment right protects their right to pornography, I guess, in public places, which is just awkward and weird. But, it reminds me of the mythical separation of church and state, which doesn't exist in our Constitution. Tell people why the First Amendment doesn't cover your right to porn in public places.
Well, the First Amendment doesn't cover your porn. It does cover the porn in general. But in a public library, the Supreme Court said it doesn't apply in a public library because a public library is not an open public forum. It's a quasi-public forum. The government does have some controls, and the government has always and will always keep porn out of public libraries, except when some organization comes in and says, well, it violates your First Amendment. Well, that's not true. But in addition to that, there are state laws which set up libraries for the use and benefit of people. Okay? Pornography is not for the use and benefit. In fact, it harms people. And so if they're acting outside the law, the local governments have the right and duty to come in and stop that library from acting outside the law.
How much money would you say annually is spent on these lawsuits that we're talking about and that you've written about, Safe Libraries?
Some of the lawsuits can be kind of big. There were 12 librarians in Minneapolis Public Library who sued for and won the limits of liability. So I think that was almost $500,000. There were some librarians down in Birmingham. I'm saying that the librarians are suing because they're being harassed at work by this stuff, and their management will not stop the porn in accordance with the law. As a result, they're being sexually harassed, and they're suing and winning.
And this all has to do with the American Library Association defending the pornographer's right, I guess, to have access to the porn.
Yes.
It reminds me a little bit of the American Medical Association. Most people think all librarians are these good people who are trying to help their kids learn, but in fact, their association has gotten quite scandalous, hasn't it?
Yes, and the latest thing that they're doing is that they're training librarians on how to keep quiet about them pushing porn, how to not put anything in writing so it doesn't get uncovered in FOIA requests. Even how, if I show up at a training, the ALA admitted has to dumb down what it's saying so that it doesn't get out in the public as to what they're advising librarians to hide this information.
I'm just seeing this little postcard of you and all the libraries, watch out for this man because you're the dangerous one, not the perverts watching the porn in our libraries. Dan Kleinman, keep fighting. At Safe Libraries is the handle on Twitter, safelibraries.org, the website. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Don't forget, we love to hear from you. You can go to the moneybizlife.com website, click on Ask Dr. Gina. Let us know what you'd like us to cover.